Welcome to the Ed Fernandez Show. I'm Tom Roussel, and with me, the man himself, Mr. Ed Fernandez.
Ed Fernandez.
Let's go.
How you doing, everyone?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Hey, I want to introduce him. So we got Tom here, right? Doing his thing, and then we've got Kevin back here. He's doing his magic on the videos, and then I got my son Darian. He's making us sound good. So these guys are in the background, so I just want to make sure they had their props and recognize them for all their good work.
Absolutely, man. They set up a beautiful studio for us here, and just happy to do this. I'm happy to be a part of it. I just want to thank you first and foremost.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So this isn't the first time we've done this, so why don't you take a second and talk about the Ed Fernandez Show? How did we come to this name?
So we were gonna do, what was that, the cash flow podcast, right? And the cash flow podcast, I felt like it would just put us in a box, right? I don't really want to talk about money all the time, right? Money's important, but it's not everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know a lot of people have a lot of money and are just miserable, right? I mean, it's just not about everything. It's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to really, talking to my wife Ruth, kind of just didn't fit right, didn't sound right, didn't feel right. So we said, let's just call it the Ed Fernandez Show. And that allows us to kind of talk about everything, right? Because look, I'm 55 years old. I know I don't look it, but I'm 55. I'm just playing.
He's always got to add that part.
But I wanted to actually take the experiences of life, right? I've been doing this journey in the financial world since 1995. And, if I've journaled since 1995 to today, all the events that have occurred in my life. So I can go back and read of all the things that have occurred, and wanted to be able to share that with everyone, right? How to be a good husband, how to be a good dad, how to be a good leader, a good employer, right? From all my employees. Do my employees serve me, or are they my friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do you married for 26 years? How do you make money? How do you buy real estate? And so I think the Ed Fernandez Show is going to allow me to kind of just talk about all those things. So that's how we came up with the name.
Well, I completely agree with you. I know I think it would have been great if we did the Cash Flow podcast, but this just feels right, having you as the Ed Fernandez Show, because you're ultimately the star of the show, whether you like it or not. He would be the last person to say, I want it to be the Ed Fernandez Show.
I don't want to be famous.
Right.
That's the last thing. Look, I want the money, but I don't want the fame.
Right.
But so we're just doing this, to kind of just help people, to serve people. That's what we're doing this for. You go on YouTube and you see a lot of 1031 exchange, like podcasts. Oh my God, Lord Jesus, help me. I can't even watch it for like 5 seconds. Got to go. And I'm like, we can't do any worse than this.
Right.
So we had to do our own stuff, right?
Right. We might talk about some, financial or business stuff that might not be the most exciting topic, but I know you can make anything exciting.
Oh, I hope so. So I'm looking forward to it.
So I think the purpose of this podcast is to learn a little bit more about your background for those that don't know you.
Sure.
And then we can talk a little bit more about what your vision for the podcast is.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Sound?
Let's do it.
Well, I'll toot your horn because you won't do it for yourself. But for those don't know Ed, here's a couple things about you. I've known you for over 20 years, first of all. So I've seen some of this happen in real time. You have over 20 years of experience, over $800 million of equity raised personally in private and public investments, Forbes Business Council member, Entrepreneurs Leadership Network member, numerous Inc. 5000 and Inc. Regional Awards. Some of them are right here. Hispanic CEO of the Year by Wealth Solutions Report, and you make regular appearances on TD Ameritrade Network, Inc. Podcast. You're out there now.
Yeah.
How many people have told you, hey, Ed, you need to make a podcast?
It's crazy. It's, I get a lot of my, good friends would say, Ed, I'd be your number one fan. Right. I remember I was picking up one of my cars from getting done, and my partner in another business of ours shot it, and it went viral to the point to where one guy said, wait a minute, is that Denzel? And I'm like, wow, okay. Maybe I should do something like this. So, it's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And, I hope everybody can understand I'm going to be Ed. I could be suited and booted and speak the vernacular that I need to as a real estate professional and financial services professional. I could do that. But I really want people to see who I really am. So, all these accolades are based on the team that surround me, right? I can't do it on my own. So I have a great team, and including you and Darian and Kevin, who make me just look good. And then my wife, Ruth, COO, she really, really makes me look good. So I can't take I can't take it like all the accolades on my own. It's a team.
She'll be on several podcast episodes, I'm sure, and we're excited to see that dynamic because you run a family business here, and that's an interesting subject.
Yeah, family business is a big deal. So I'll tell you, I've got brother-in-laws working together, brother and sister. I've got my son, my daughter, my wife, my niece, my nephews. I mean, it's all family. And the reason why it's all family is because we all like each other and we all can work together and build something really special together. Not to say I wouldn't hire people from the outside, but the core focus and the foundation of this organization is family, right? So we're a family-oriented business, and it's all about taking care of our clients as if they were part of our family.
Right. Yeah, I see that because they aren't here just because they're family. It's on their own merits too. I
absolutely.
know you definitely make a point for that.
Absolutely.
Well, why don't we take a step back and let's just start from the beginning. Who is Ed Fernandez?
All right. So apologize, long-winded, right? But cool story.
Got plenty of time.
Yeah, I think it's a cool story. So I was born in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. So Boricua, right, is the term. And moved to Brooklyn, New York, where my little brother was born. So I left Puerto Rico when I was 2 years old and went to Brooklyn. Stayed in Brooklyn until I was like 11 or 12, and then we moved out to Cali. My dad left when I was 2 years old, so my dad was never been in the picture. So my mom raised me and my little brother. I have another brother on my dad's side. He lives in Florida. His name's Michael Fernandez. And then I have three sisters, Debbie, Inette, and Inez. They live in Puerto Rico. And so I lived in, I went to Brooklyn and then we moved to Cali. And, we moved into a place called Hawthorne, South Central LA. I remember I used to go to this school. It was Freeze Avenue Elementary School. And it was a rough neighborhood. I used to get chased every single day after school. Couldn't catch me, right? I was super fast.
That's where you got your wheels from.
Yeah, couldn't catch me. But then my mom said, you know what, let's move to Orange County. So we moved to Fullerton, California. And that's where I grew up a lot. We were poor. So by no means, I was born into money. We were, back in the day, it was called food stamps, welfare, government cheese, and powdered milk. I know there's some of you out there may know that.
Explain government cheese for people that never even heard of that before.
Well, the cheese was really good, by the way, right? So back like in the 80s, the government was buying all the produce, all the farmer stuff, right? So farmers were making cheese for days, and I think it was, bad time in the economy, and the government was buying their stuff, and so they can give it away for free. For us who didn't have money. So I ate a lot of grilled cheese sandwiches, but that was like high-end cheese. So we had to stand in line and kind of, get the cheese. And so, and powdered milk, right? So you couldn't really afford milk. So milk came in a powder,
right?
In a box, like a cereal box. You'd pour it and add water to it, and that's what you eat your cereal with. So by no means, was I raised with money. I remember... our government check would come on the 1st and the 15th of every month. The check that came on the 1st was to pay the rent, right? And the light bill and all that other stuff. And then the check on the 15th is when me and my little brother can go to Chuck E. Cheese. And, it was kind of tough. We would go to school, and in the beginning of the year, we would have to be careful with our clothes the previous year, right? Because we knew we wouldn't go to school with brand new clothes, right? And then everybody knew it, right? Because you're growing, and you got floods. Back in the day, floods mean your socks are showing. That was not okay. Today it's okay because everybody's trying to show off their socks.
Right.
But back then that was not good. And so me and my little brother had to get tough, right, so that the bullying would stop. So we were knuckleheads for a little while. Got in a little bit of trouble and hung out with the wrong people. But I always knew I would go to the store and feel the nice shirts and stuff, even though we couldn't afford it. But I was always bougie, and I always liked nice things. But from there, I dropped out of high school when I was 16, and took a job. So I'm not, and got no college degree. Do have a GED. I made sure I got that. So I really don't have formal education, which is okay. I'm not saying college is a bad thing, but I learned how to build a car by cracking my knuckles. I learned the financial services industry by doing it, not by learning it in a book. And so, came to Cali, went to school here, dropped out of school when I was 16, took a job making jerseys for the Anaheim Rams at the time, not LA Rams. They were in Anaheim. And learned how to make those jerseys. And then 1995, from that point on, I was, knucklehead, hanging out with the wrong people, got in a little bit of trouble. And so if you know me, you know what trouble I got into, but not serious trouble. But I got in a little trouble. And in 1995, I got saved.
How old were you?
24, 25 years old.
Okay.
Got saved, loved Jesus, and from there, my first legit job, at that age, was a produce manager, counting lettuce and tomatoes. Mm-hmm. It was okay, making $5 an hour. And then one day, some guy from church, told me, "Hey, Ed, there's a sales job." I said, "Okay, whatever, I'll go for it." Went over there in my church suit, right? Back in the day, it was like MC Hammer kind of stuff. Yellow and mustard yellow was all kind of in. Had no idea what I was doing. I showed up at this business meeting in his church suit. I don't even know how to tie a tie. And, I haven't been to school in a long time.
Right.
So the guy slides me this test, and I take it, I fail, and I was like, okay, well, this is not for me. So I go.
What kind of test was that?
It was like a financial test, a lot of math.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know this stuff.
Right.
So I failed and said, okay, this wasn't for me. But 2 weeks later, this guy calls me back and says, "Hey, Ed, there's something about you. Come back." And so I go back in my mustard suit, and he slides me the answers to the test. He says, "Don't get them right, all of them right." So I pass, and I get my first sales job. And so that sales job was with the company, Monarch's Deposit Company, which currently exists today. And we were selling gold, silver, platinum, palladium to investors. And that's how I started. I started sales there. And I remember it like yesterday. 90 days in, my sales manager, I remembered his name. His name is Mike Maroney.
Mike Maroney.
Yeah, Mike Maroney.
If you're out there.
Yeah, Mike Maroney. Hey, look at you almost fired me. So Mike Maroney comes in, "Ed, I need to talk to you 9:00 in the morning. It's a Friday." He says, "Ed, I got to say, if you don't close a deal by the end of the day, you got to go, right? This is just not for you." And I'm like, oh, man. So
was that a surprise, or were you expecting that to happen because of the 90 days?
Yeah, it's because we, back in those days, I didn't get the Glenn Gary leads, right? I got the leads that, you can stack leads, and these are like 5, 6, 7-year-old leads. It was the big guys. We had commercials on CNN, and the commercial would come up and the phones would ring. My phone wasn't ringing.
Right.
It was all the big guys got all the good leads. I got the crap leads. And so I wasn't doing anything. So at lunchtime, I went to UPS, FedEx, and at that, you just, you put in an application back in the day. And, I was just more comfortable with the blue collar kind of situation. Nothing wrong with blue collar. It was my comfort level, right? And so around 2:00 in the afternoon, the phone rings. It was amazing. The phone rings, And I've been talking to this guy from Columbus, Ohio, and his name was Don Darmus. I will never forget that guy. Don, I hope you're still alive. Don Darmus, and he says, hey, Ed, it's Don Darmus. And I was like, hey, Mr. Darmus, how you doing today, sir? He goes, I'm doing pretty good. You know what? I think I'm ready to do something today. I'm like, okay, how much? He goes, I think I'm going to start with $50,000. I said, Mr. Darmus, I can remember it like yesterday. I was so nervous. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I said, Mr. Darmus, can you hold, please? And I was like, oh, my God. Hey, I need some help. All the sales guys. I got this dude. He wants to buy $50,000. They were like, all right.
You're like, I've never filled out this ticket.
I don't know
before.
what I'm doing, right? And I'm like, all right. So they all come around me, man. You know, we were all good friends. You know, they were cheering me on. You got to do this. 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 And I get back on the phone. I said, Mr. Darmus, you're on the recorded line. We're buying $50,000 of XYZ. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Do you confirm the purchase? I confirm the purchase. I hang up the phone, fill out the paperwork, go to Mike Maroney. Bam! There's my deal right there, man. Saved my job. It was all God.
Yeah.
Right? Don Darmus became one of the largest clients at Monix Deposit Company. And that's when I started realizing, holy moly, you can make some good money doing this. Right? So that's how I started. And then I tried to save the world, and you can't save the world doing that. So I went into commodities, started trading. I got my Series 3 license, started trading on the Chicago Board of Trade, right? And found out that was glorified gambling without the drinks,
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? God was telling me, you got to leave, right? And I'm like, I'm not leaving. All right, you're not leaving, you're fired. So I got fired. I didn't do anything wrong.
Did they
I got
give you
fired.
a reason or anything?
No. I just got fired. They said, hey, dude, you got to pack your boxes up. So I'm sitting there in front of everybody, packing my box. And when I'm walking out in the parking lot, and I felt so happy. I was like, man, I'm glad you did this. But I was 8 months without a job. I had, my son, I think my son was like a year and a half, right? We bought our first tiny little puny condo, me and Ruth, and I think I had like $7,000 to my name, and I didn't have a job for 8 months.
Wow.
And God would tell me, do you want to work for me or do you want to work for somebody else? I said, I want to work for you. All right, well, don't look for a job. I'm like, man, I got to pay my bills. How am I going to do this?
So did you listen? Did you not look? Or you
no, I was looking.
Right.
I was looking. But
every time you did,
he was like, what are you doing? Stop doing that. I'm like, man, Lord, this sucks. I gotta make money. But then one day, he said, hey, you're gonna meet a guy at church, right?
It seems to be a trend.
Yeah. And I'm using the bathroom, right? And there's this big Italian dude sitting next to me, and we're doing our thing. And he starts talking to me. Hey, I've been watching you for a long time. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? Right? Like, you're pretty sketchy talking to me. You don't even know me. So we go outside. He goes, yeah, I've been watching for a long time. We're starting this real estate stuff. Here's my business card. Come see me. And I'm like, okay. So I go and I meet your dad, right? Terry Roussel. And your dad walks in and he's starting this whole thing. And he goes, how much you need, Ed? And I said, oh, man, $3,600 a month. So I was making $3,600 a month. It was like.
What year was that?
That was 2001.
Yeah.
Right? That was a lot of money for us. That changed our lives. And, I ended up working for your dad for 14 years at a place called Cornerstone Ventures. And we syndicated real estate deals, industrial real estate. Your dad used to call it pizza by the slice.
Right.
I learned how to be on the phones with people all the way after 14 years, all the way creating products. And then in 2014, decided to start our own thing. And this is how 1031 crowdfunding started, so that's how we got involved.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about a little bit about 1031 crowdfunding starting, but something I know we're going to get into this on a future episode, but what would you, what company were you at, or where did you learn your sales acumen? Because I've said it before, I'll say it again, you're the best sales guy I've ever met.
Thank you.
I know I'm biased, but
Thank you.
it is what it is. You can't argue with skill and
Thank
I don't
you.
know.
I appreciate
So
that.
where in this, you worked at different places.
Yeah.
What did you take from these places and how did you learn this? How to make a living doing this?
Yeah, it was tough. I learned that at Monarch's Deposit Company, and then I learned at a place called Newhall Discount, where we had like 400 guys, right? And all we did was call investors, and we were trading the commodities market. And I worked with a lot of very skilled guys.
Okay.
And that's where I learned. I learned my skill set from doing that. I mean, we worked at Newhall Discount. We worked from 5:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock at night. It was a grind. It's a young man's job, but that's where I got all my skills from. And I've been on the phones for, God, more than half my life. So that's how I got started doing sales.
Wow.
Yeah. So now, I could tell you this, if you learn how to sell on the phone, you can sell anything. But you can't go and sell people face to face and then come back to the phones. So I was able to learn on the phones, and then now meeting people face to face becomes pretty easy.
Right. And getting someone to invest millions of dollars over the phone is definitely not an easy.
Yeah, it's not, especially nowadays, because there's, a lot of people are, who are you? Or you're going to scam me, things like that. So it's become a little bit more difficult, but by the grace of God, we still are able to do it just because of our credibility of the organization, which we worked really hard to establish.
Okay, speaking of the organization, let's take a step back. 1031 crowdfunding. You tell people all the time on the phone that you created this business out of your garage. Why don't we talk about that experience a little bit?
That was so hard. I was scared. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about in the show, right?
Right.
Is being an entrepreneur is scary.
Mm-hmm.
It is not easy, man. You better have a backbone,
right,
or do not do it, because it is scary, right? You're not walking in and somebody's giving you a paycheck. You got to create the paycheck, But again, I love Jesus, and I'm not ashamed about that, right? One day I was in my closet praying. And God gave me the name 1031 Crowdfunding. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, but that's what happened, right? So I remember, God telling me, do you want to work for me or do you want to work for somebody else? So I called the guy who wanted to hire me, right? And I was like, his name was Marcus. I said, hey, Marcus, I'm starting this company. This is what I'm going to do, yada, yada, yada. And he says, hey, Ed, I really don't want to buy your friendship. I said, all right, well, just because I was asking him for seed capital, right? And I said, okay, fine. He goes, let me chew on it. He calls me the next morning. How much you need? I was shocked, right? I'm like, I don't even know how much I need.
Probably a little bit more than $3,600 a month.
Yeah, I said I need 6,000. I need 60 grand.
Right.
60,000. So him and a partner of his on a handshake wiring me the money the same day.
Wow.
Right? And I take $30,000, put it in my bank account, pay my bills. I took another $30,000 and gave it to a securities attorney, and he created a private placement memorandum security. And I was raising money, selling air. There was no, I had a pro forma, I had a business plan, all that other stuff, but there was no revenue, right? So I was able to take that and raise $500,000, right? And that's how 1031 crowdfunding started. I was the first one really going into the financial services industry at the time because of the Jobs Act, right? 2012, you could take private offerings and kind of solicit them like if they were public. That was taboo. People are like, we're not doing that. And it was tough, right? Until a sponsor said, you know what, Ed, we're going to give you a shot. And that was the first product that we put on our platform, and that's how 1031 crowdfunding launched. It was not, I didn't even know what a DST was. I didn't know how to do a closing on a DST for 1031 exchanges. I think our marketing budget was like $2,000 a month. That's all I could afford, right? $2,000 a month. Now we spend like $150,000 a month. It's crazy.
Right.
But that's how the company started. And so, we serve, here's what we do, right? We want to take the misinformed, the misunderstood, the deceived investor, and give them a comfortable place to invest, knowing that, hey, we're not perfect. I can't guarantee stuff, but we're going to do what's right for you. And so that's how the company started.
And that was 2014, right?
2014.
So, wow.
Yeah. Come April 2024 will be our 10-year anniversry, and we're gonna party.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a big deal.
Yeah, well, we do as a company go to Cabo every year.
Yeah, we take everybody to Cabo and have a blast, because it's important that our employees / friends get some time to reflect. As Ruth and I, prosper, we want to make sure all our friends, i.e. employees, prosper as well. So we take everybody to get refreshed.
That's a good story. Why don't we dive in just a little bit? You already talked about it, but what is your vision for this podcast?
Yeah, that's going to be it's a big deal. Look, I am a 55-year-old man and have been through a lot of stuff in my life. And I know there's a lot of people out there that just need to see people and see how they did it and have hope, right? Like my dad wasn't around. I played football. I'd look at the sidelines, see all the dads cheering their kids on, right? And I was one of the stars, and my dad wasn't there, right? Never felt the hug of a man. Never felt a guy say, my father say, hey, I'm proud of you. I've never felt that. And so I'm sure there's a lot of young kids that are experiencing the same thing. How do you overcome that? Because a little boy needs his daddy. Even when I'm a grown man today, I still need my daddy, right? But my daddy wasn't around, right? How do you become a good husband? How are you married 26 years? How do you become a good dad? How do you raise good kids? How do you become a good friend? How are you an entrepreneur? How do you make money? How do you buy real estate? Right? I mean, there's a lot of things that I feel this world needs that I can share. We're going to tell you about how to make money. I mean, we're going to do that. We're going to do the real estate stuff. I'm going to have attorneys on here. I'm going to have CPAs on here. I'm going to have everyone that I can get on here. But we're also going to talk about life.
Right.
Because you can make all the money in the world, but if you don't have life, then what's the point of money? Right? It's just a tool. You could buy all the cars you want, all the watches you want. You can go see the world. And then what happens after that? Right? I mean, what's the purpose of it all? And so that's the vision of this podcast. So it's going to be for some and it may not be for some. That's okay. But look, I'm not sweeping Jesus under the rug. Because without him, I wouldn't be here today. So that, we're going to talk about a lot of really cool stuff. I'm going to have some Navy SEAL guys here, some CEO guys here. Navy SEAL guys, they come back. Some of these vets, these poor vets, they come back. They have nothing. Right? All they know is war. How do we help those guys? That's the intent of this podcast, is to share life stories and hopefully change some lives.
Yeah, we kind of went into, that was like a Cliff Note version of your life, but there's so much we're going to share.
Oh man, there's
so much
more to do.
Right. It wasn't just you getting fired and having to trust God for 8 months.
I'm just trying to be conservative.
Right. I know we're going to get into it. One of the things that I was thinking about, there might be young people out here trying to get a job. You showed up in a mustard suit. You can tell someone, what do you look for when someone walks into your building?
Your shoes.
Yep.
That's the first thing I look at. Don't have some messed up shoes.
Right.
Because you can be suited and booted, and I look down at your feet and your shoes are messed up.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It looks like you're driving a Flintstones car or something.
It's not good. There's some kids out there that, I'm not saying college is a bad thing. I'm not saying don't go to college. But there's some kids out there that don't have the money to go to college.
Right.
We hire kids out of high school. Mm-hmm. I don't require a degree. I will teach you how to be a millionaire. Those are opportunities that are not out there. These are the things that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah. And I know you said we're going to do some fun contests. We're going to do some.
I do have a plane. I just got to say, I do have a plane.
Yes.
So we'll do some contests, get you to Cabo, go to the Montage, hang out, do some things. We're going to do a lot of really cool things. And I'm really excited to be able to share this. So now I got to say this though. Don't know what I'm doing. Right? But we're gonna get it done.
Yeah. Well, that's the best thing. I mean, if you shine as Ed and you share the knowledge and wisdom that you have. Not saying you know everything, because I know we've been through some stuff together too.
Oh yeah,
you know?
of course.
But this is gonna be really fun and valuable. to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, you know, you guys are gonna meet my wife.
Mhm.
She is my road dog, my best friend. She's just everything. You
She
guys
keeps this place together
Yeah,
too.
No, she's amazing. And so you guys are gonna meet my wife. You're gonna meet my kids. You're gonna meet a lot of people that I know that are good people to me. And we're gonna share our life story.
Meet your dog as well.
Oh, Avor,
Yeah.
land shark.
Yep.
Don't play.
Yeah. You'll see that in a future episode. You'll see what we're talking about.
Yep.
Do you have any closing remarks for the listeners?
All I gotta say is, just have some grace.
Mhm.
We're gonna do the best we can. We're hopefully that we are able to have people like us more than not. But stay tuned,
Right.
because we're gonna blow the top off of this. Put on your spacesuit. We're going to the moon.
Yeah. I was waiting for that to come because what you'll see about Ed is he's got a saying for everything. And
Blessed are the cheesemakers.
Right.
Coffee's for closers.
Right.
So we got a lot of stuff going on.
Absolutely. Well, just as listeners, if you like what you see here and you're going to follow us along this journey, you can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you can like and subscribe and comment, then it's really going to help our algorithm and show for people, because this is brand new.
Yeah. Come on. Just support me. We'll go for the ride. Right?
Absolutely.
We'll go for the ride.
All right. Well, that's episode 000 of the Ed Fernandez Show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.